Hello, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to run through my Mason Boker gravel bike and the setup I used for my recent bikepacking trip to northern Morocco and Spain. And as you can see, it's as it was when I got back from the trip. And yeah, I'm just going to run through the bike and some of the equipment I took with me on the trip. So those of you who have been watching my channel for a while would have seen this bike a number of times. It's kind of my off-road workhorse. It's my Mason Boker. So this is Mason's adventure sport bike. That's what they call it. Some people might call it a gravel bike, but it makes it an ideal bike for this kind of predominantly road, but you know, adventure-y kind of bikepacking trip where you're going to be going on a few off-road tracks as well. And as you can see from my setup, I've set it up basically for that kind of cause. So the frame is Mason's aluminium Boker. It's did actually tubing. It's made and welded in Italy, painted in Italy, and then assembled in Sussex in the UK. And I'm running, as you can see, I'm running these big fat slick tyres. So I've got these Renault tyres. These are the Snoqualmie Pass tyres. So they're 44 millimeters, and as you can see, they're quite a wide slick, but they've got a bit of a kind of file tread on them. I find these are really good for this kind of trip because you're going to be like 90–95% on the road, so you want something that rolls pretty quick. But in places like Morocco, the surfaces can be quite unpredictable. Even if you are on tarmac, there can be gravel, there can be dirt, there can be potholes. So it's good to have something with a bit more cushion. And they match up really well with my Hunt Limitless Adventure wheel set. So this uses the Hunt Limitless rim, which is like the top end sort of gravel aero wheel set, but pairs it with J-bend spokes and a higher spoke count as well. So it's a really robust, reliable wheel set for this kind of trip, and it makes for a nice fast package. And then I've got the GRX group set, so it's a 2x setup. Again, this has been on there for quite a while now. It's probably 4 or 5 years old, so probably need to update it fairly soon, but it works quite well with a 2x. So you've got like the gears which work well on the road and off-road at a good wide spread. Elsewhere on the bike, contact points, well, they're pretty key when you're riding a long way. I've been running Redshift for a number of years now, so I've got the Redshift shock stop stem on there. This takes a little bit of the shock out of the bumps on the road. Again, it works really well for a trip like this. It's not going to be flopping around too much, it's quite stiff, but when you hit a bump it just takes the edge off. And I've paired it with the Redshift bars. These are the kitchen sink bars, and I've actually got their drop bar grips on there and the top grips. They just make it super comfortable. I love this hand position on here. I have no numbness on my hams after the trips, which I quite often do get if I'm just using the drops without. So yeah, works really well for me, do recommend it. And then I'm running the Ergon saddle. So this is the SR All-Road Core saddle. Again, I've been using that for a number of years. It's one of those things, if you find a saddle that works for you, it's probably best to stick to it. And yeah, this works pretty well for me. And then I'm just running, I've mentioned it on a few of my videos, the Swiss Stop rotors and pads. Again, I find they work really well. I think they're ever so slightly thicker than the Shimano ones, and they just feel a bit stiffer when you're using them. And the pads are a good compound, they don't squeak, and yeah, they last a really long time. So yeah, all good there. And then of course, you know, Enduro bearings support me. I've got Enduro bearings actually upgraded in the wheels and the hubs. And then I've got the XD15 bottom bracket on there and jockey wheels. This bottom bracket has done endless miles. It's 2 or 3 years old now and it still feels super smooth. So yeah, definitely recommend Enduro bearing stuff. Coming on to the bags, well, you probably know by now. Again, I'm running tailfin. I think this is probably one of the first times I've actually run a full production setup. So I've got the cargo aero pack on the back there. I'll run through what's inside them in a second, but essentially that's sleeping gear and some rain gear. I've got the long top tube pack. This is the medium size. I can't remember exactly how many litres it is. But yeah, this worked quite well. This was kind of like things I needed close to hand, tools, things like that, and the camera I'm using to film this. But again, I'll run through that totally in a second. And then the frame bag. And this is the largest size of the half frame bag. That was kind of layers that I was using on and off the bike during the day. Cycling layers, that is, and some tools and a pump. Again, I'll bring it out in a minute. And then the bar bag, this is the smaller of the road, the drop bar bar bags. This was my casual clothes. So yeah, that just stayed on there and I could take it off nice and easily at night. Elsewhere on the bike, lights. So I've got these exposure lights. This is the Diablo, it's from like 2011. It's really old, but it works really well, and it's nice and compact. It fits nicely on the mount for the tail fin bar bag. I've basically used the kind of GoPro mount adapter, and then exposure do this kind of light mount which fits on the GoPro adapter, so that works really well. Keeps it out of the way, keeps the bars clutter free. GPS, I'm still using this Cross Dura. I am pleased with it in some aspects, but other aspects it's not so good. I've been using it now since the start of September, so I'm kind of figuring out its strengths and weaknesses. If you want pure battery life, you're going to be hard to beat the Dura. So I did probably 40 odd hours riding, and there's like 35% battery left. I didn't charge it once. It was sunny at times in Morocco, but the last few days it was pretty overcast, so it wasn't getting much solar charge. So it's got huge battery life. If you're just touring, if you just want battery life, then I'd say this is the GPS to go for. However, I suspect that the huge battery life is achieved by compromising elsewhere. So the maps or the navigation, it's not quite as quick as things like my Wahoo that I used previously. I suspect that the GPS just doesn't ping as many times, therefore saving battery life. And for things like training, like day-to-day riding, it's not so good for like setting training, and I don't think it talks to the power meter quite as often. I always feel like there's a little bit of lag in power with it. Might just be my perception. Maybe it's just because it's January and I'm not going very well at the moment. But yeah, I think I'm probably going to use Wahoo for day-to-day stuff. But if you're just touring, you don't care about power, you don't care about training, you just want battery life and a map that works, then it's very, very difficult to look past the Dura. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that after a few months of riding. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the bike and the equipment rundown. So now what I'll do is I'll run through my bags. So I'll start at the back of the bike. So as I've already mentioned, this is the Tailfin Aeropack Cargo with these big mesh side pockets. Pretty good. I could have used the new Speed Pack, which is a slightly smaller one. I could have fitted everything in it, I think. However, the thing I like about this is that you don't have to kind of pack so carefully. You can just chuck everything in the top. So when you're packing up like a damp tent or chucking rain gear in, it's nice and straightforward and simple. So yeah, in here I pretty much had my camping gear. So we had full camping gear for this trip. In the end, we only ended up using it once. But the rain gear did get used more than I would have liked. That's how it goes when you're bike packing. So I'm not going to undo everything here. I am going to do a more detailed video about my tent and my camping gear, because I've actually got some pretty interesting stuff. But I'll do a quick overview now. So first up, rain gear. This is actually the Albion Zoa rain shell. I really do rate this. This is the newer version, but I've been using it since summer. So yeah, updated fabric, nice and waterproof, nice and warm, nice and compact. So yeah, it's a really good rain layer. I've got the Albion rain trousers too. Again, really nice and compact, pretty waterproof. I think we had to use them once on this trip, but they're also quite good if you're a bit cold, just to keep some heat in. And then onto the kind of the sleeping gear. So the first thing I had, I got one of these Aper tents. Now you may have seen these, they sort of in the media recently. They've launched, it's a brand new company. It's they launched a crowdfunder to bring this tent to market. Now this is one of the prototypes that they sent over for me to test. So it's unique because it uses the bike as part of the structure for the tent, and as you can see, it's tiny. That's the tent, and that's the poles and the pegs. So you won't really get a smaller kind of tent than that. I'm 6'3" and I could fit in it fine. It was raining when we camped overnight, and yeah, it was pretty good. So as I said, I'll do a separate video about this tent and my sleeping gear, because I think it is pretty interesting and I think people will be interested to see it. So keep an eye out for that. But for now, yeah, that's the camping gear. It's pretty tiny, just fits in there. Sleeping bag and sleeping mat. So this is the Sea to Summit. So this is their 3-season mat. This is the Ultralight XR Thermocore mat from Sea to Summit. Again, I'm not sure if it's released just yet, but it's basically an update of their previous Ultralight mat. So it's slightly warmer. It's 3-season. It was probably 2 or 3 degrees when we slept, and I was warm enough in it, so that was good. And then again, this is Sea to Summit, so this is their Spark sleeping bag. This is their -1 bag. I've repacked it in one of their Cordura compression sacks, which is a bit more waterproof than the standard one, so that's a really nice little feature. But yeah, this is a -1 degree bag. You have to be careful though, because it is -1 is the extreme rating for it. You're probably going to be comfy around 4 degrees, 3 or 4 degrees, and that was the kind of temperatures we had. The reason I like Sea to Summit is they do really long bags. They do loads of options, short ones, wide ones, long ones. I'm quite tall, so having a long bag is very useful. So yeah, that is my sleeping bag, and again, that just sat in the top there. So this dry bag, or compression dry bag, was good enough, combined with the waterproofness of the tail fin. It was good, nothing got wet, which was excellent, and it's enough just to keep off the moisture that might be on the tent in the morning when you put it away. And then finally, I had a new Eros pillow, ultralight pillow from Sea to Summit. Again, it's all about comfort. So yeah, that's quite a comfy and a good sleeping setup for this trip. So yeah, we'll definitely use that again. Now onto the top tube bag. As I said previously, this is where I had things that I wanted to have to hand. So that includes the camera I'm filming on now, and that could just fit in here nicely. So other things that are in here. So I'll start at the bottom here. So this was a little helmet light that I used just in the night. This is from Nightcore. It's relatively inexpensive. It's got like a red light on there. It's got a couple of light options just on bungees. Good for the camp, and it's quite a good little backup as well. I've then got, I've got a knife for cutting things. This is from the Alps Divide actually. This was part of the starters pack. It's a Opinel inox knife, so pretty cool. Always useful. Normally use it to cut cheese, to be fair. And then I've got my trusty fabric ratchet multi-tool, which they don't make anymore, so I'm holding on to this for dear life while it still works. I've got a little bag with some cables in there just for various charging things, and I've also got a socket. Again, that's the iPhone cable in there, so just keep that to hand. Then I've got some lube. I use this Squirt chain lube. I find it works pretty good. Been using it for years. So yeah, a couple of little mini bottles in there. A couple of tyre levers. I've got my Dyna plugs. Again, I keep Dyna plugs in the top tube bag so that if you do get a puncture, you need to plug it. It's it's close to hand and quick and easy to do, so you lose less sealant and air. And then I've got some spare plugs in here. And some glue. Always important to glue your Dyna plugs when you put them in, just makes them last that little bit longer. And then I've got kind of the, I guess, cosmetics, you might want to call it that, hand sanitizer. I've got some lip balm, some SPF 15, because my lips crack quite often, especially when it's cold and sunny and windy, as it was in Morocco. Pseudo creme, don't really want to have to use that, but sometimes you need it. And just a little bit of sunscreen. Didn't really need it much on this particular trip, but yeah, it's kind of good to have. And it's those days where it's kind of slightly overcast or not very warm but still sunny that catch you out and you get a sunburnt face. So yeah, put it on once or twice, but not as much as I'd have hoped on this particular trip. Right, now onto the frame bag. Now I'll start on the small pocket on the other side, because I always forget to show people what I have in here. So normally I put my passport and things like that in there, but I've actually got this power bank. So to be honest, I was able to rely on charging it in accommodation most of the time, but I've got this, it's a MB 10,000 milliamp power bank from Nightcore. Pretty good, works well for me, and they're quite slim, so they just fit in there, like the smaller pocket on the side here. And then I've actually got, I always just have a few little of these, they're kind of like iodine little cotton bud type things. I just leave them in there because you never know when you might need them if you have a crash or something. And a titanium spork, didn't get used on this trip, but if you don't take it, you'll need it, and if you do take it, you won't need it. I also always put an air tag in. I normally hide it somewhere on the bike. Actually, I think I might have two on this bike. But yeah, it's useful either when you're traveling somewhere and your bike's in a bike box and you want to know where it is, or if worst case happens and it goes missing, you can track your bike a little bit easier. So that's kind of things I leave in the kind of slim pocket on the tail fin. Into the main compartment, and as I said before, it's tools and kind of layers for on the bike while I'm riding that I might change during the day. And as I say that, the first thing that comes out is actually a backpack. This is the little Pertex backpack from Albion. Very useful just to carry things, whether it's going into accommodation at the end of the day, just loading things up. buying stuff in the shop, you just never know when you might need it, and it crunches down into, you know, a really small package, so there's no real excuse not to take it with you. And then I've just got a few layers, so I've got gloves. I always like to take warm gloves. These are pedal-led ones. They've got this active insulation in. I just get on really well with these. I think they're very warm. I've had a few different kind of brands with that insulation, and if you can find a glove that works, then it's good. Yeah, so I've used this in like Kyrgyzstan in high altitude, and yeah, just worked very well for me. And then I've got my rain gloves too. Again, I didn't really need to use them. However, it's good to have them. These are sportful. They're like lobster rain shells. You can put them on over either your mitts or the warmer gloves. It's good to have a bit of a glove layering system, and a few options as well, because once you get cold hands, that just makes your life a lot more miserable, and you don't really want that on a trip. Then I've got a Albion Pertex gilet. This is the sand colour. So this was on and off quite a bit. Basically during the day I'd be wearing the Traverse jersey from Albion and a base layer, so that's the long sleeve jersey, and then I put this on to keep the chill off a little bit if needed, and when it warmed up I'd take it off. So yeah, that worked pretty well. I also had some leg warmers. I wore these most of the time. These weren't in there pretty much the whole trip. So leg warmers, again, I like to keep my legs warm. Just my knees, done a lot of cycling over the years, so I don't really take the risks it's at the expense of getting injured. And it's amazing the difference it makes when you get cold legs, even in the wind when it is slightly sunny. Then I've got this active neck warmer or neck gaiter from Albion. Really good bit of kit actually. I wore it pretty much most of the time, even when it's up to 10 degrees. It's that kind of, it's the Evolve active material. So yeah, really good. Tiny little thing, but makes a big difference. So yeah, I'll be using that a lot more. Then I've got a spare tube in here. Don't forget your tube, don't forget valve extenders if you've got longer or deeper rims. I've got my pump. This is just a little Crank Brothers one. I've used it for a few years now, with some tape around it, some gaffer tape and some insulation tape. You never know when that might come in useful. And then a little toolkit, so spare hanger. I've got a little penknife in there. I've got a little Leatherman in there. Some dental floss and then some needles to patch sew tyres if needed, spare brake pads, all the kind of usual stuff that you'd normally see in one of my bike checks. So that's frame bag, and then water-wise, you can see I was just carrying two 750ml bottles. I'm actually using Torque Fitness product this year, so they're Torque branded, but you know, a bottle's a bottle at the end of the day. So that's the frame bag and the stuff I used. And finally, I just need to run through the bar bag. So as I said, this is my kind of off-bike casual clothes. So yeah, the reason I put everything in here is it's pretty waterproof, and it's easy just to clip off. So if you're staying in accommodation or you set the tent up at the end of the day, you can just take this off, and then you've got everything you need to get changed. Now, the one thing that is missing from this bag is my Albion Zoa jacket. Obviously it's freezing cold now, we're not in Morocco, we're in the UK, and it's barely above freezing, so I'm wearing it. But this would be stuffed in this bag along with my casual clothes. And basically what I'd wear, it's fairly basic. This is an Albion long sleeve merino base layer. So that's quite good for sleeping in. If it's a bit colder. Got a spare set of socks. So these are the Albion Zoa socks. They're a bit thicker, so they're quite good if you're just sort of like sitting in a room or your tent in the evening, and good for sleeping in. And then if it is really bad in cold weather, you can wear those on the bike. I've got this set of, they're actually Rafa trail trousers, or lightweight trail trousers. I get them a size up. I find they're quite good because they're quite elasticy. They've got some good zip pockets on there. They roll up pretty small, and yeah, if you had to ride in them, you could also ride in them. They're kind of designed to ride in. So I find they work really well for travel trousers. Then I've just got an Albion merino t-shirt. Again, just good for off the bike. If you had to wear it, if you're cold, if you were cold and you need an extra layers, you could wear it as well. And then I've also got my, this is it's probably quite a popular piece of kit that I've been wearing the last year. This is the Albion Active hoodie. So you can see it's this active fabric. I've been using it a lot on the bike. I used it in like Silk Road and the Alps Divide. Again, as you might tell with most of my casual kit, you could wear it all on the bike if you wanted to. So I took this just for a casual jumper because it's really compact and it squashes up really well, and it's quite warm for its weight. However, if it was really cold conditions, then I could ride this on the bike for a bit of extra warmth. So yeah, nice and versatile. I think it's key to have a versatile kit if you're packing. And yeah, you could go for months on end with this stuff. No problem at all. So yeah, so that is the casual kit I used on the bikepacking trip. So there we go, that is the setup I used for my recent bikepacking trip. It's a pretty good all-round setup for pretty much any kind of gravel-based, adventure-based bikepacking trip, so hopefully that was useful. Thanks again for watching. Keep an eye out for the video, or the more in-depth video on my tent and camping gear. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, give us a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.